Hello and good morning. I have a vlog going for you guys this week. There's so many updates this week with my Vestibulodynia journey. I have my surgery follow-up this week with my surgeon. Today is really big because we're gonna redo my vulvoscopy. So it's gonna be at least a little bit of an indicator if the surgery worked, I guess you could say. So it's very exciting stuff. I also have therapy on Wednesday, and then I also have physical therapy with my pelvic floor therapist on Thursday. Yes. So there's a lot of good stuff going on. It's currently 8 a.m. and so my husband just left for work not that long ago. I work at an elementary school myself, so I'm off for the summer, which is really fun. But I'm also in the onboarding process of a little summer job that I'm gonna do, which is a respite care worker job for a family that I used to work with when I used to do ABA behavioral therapy. I do work in the behavioral intervention sphere at an elementary school, so I'm off for the summer, and now I'm just kind of, hanging out, waiting for my onboarding of my respite job. And yeah, I'm gonna eat some breakfast. I got some French toast and an egg because I need to get my protein in. So we're gonna do that. We're gonna eat that while I watch a show. I'm also drinking my Just Ingredients electrolyte water, which I do every morning, most mornings, so that way I can be hydrated and have lots of energy. Having a breakfast in bed moment because I can. I'm rewatching Grey's Anatomy. I love it. Okay, so I'm done eating now, and let's get ready for my appointment. This is the fit. I still have to brush my teeth and stuff, but woohoo! Yeah, so depending on what time it is right now, what I'm gonna do is I am going to clean myself, make sure I'm clean. I showered yesterday, but I'm gonna make sure that I'm clean down there before this appointment, because just so that way you can visually see everything and make sure everything's healing okay. What I mean by cleaning is I'm specifically talking about smegma. It's just a buildup from just skin shedding and stuff, and especially as a woman, because of everything being kind of closed off in a more closed area, it tends to have that buildup. It kind of will build up around the folds. Maybe you've seen it before and you didn't know what it was or how to clean it. And so I actually really just learned how to clean it super well at my PT appointments. So I'm gonna do that. There we go. Deodorant is so important for this appointment because I know I'm gonna be sweating from my nerves of just, I don't know, it's a very, not anxiety inducing appointment, but it's just very nerve wracking. So I know I'm gonna need deodorant. Okay, so let me explain to you the smegma stuff. My family has a dog, and so I stole, wow, no, I didn't steal. I used some of the puppy pads. I had used it originally to put on my bed, so that way when I was recovering from surgery, if in case I accidentally bled, then I wouldn't have to do some laundry while I was recovering. And so I literally had a ton of these, but I ended up learning that you can also use it for what I'm about to show you. So here's my little setup. What I do is I grab up my puppy pad. I end up putting it just on the bed. And the reason being because this cleaning process, sometimes you end up dripping some water, and it also gives you a good place to wipe off the debris. The next thing I do is I grab a cup. I like to use a disposable one because you'll see why in a second. Yeah, and so I fill it up. Warm water would be better, but I do not want to wait for this to warm up. So I bring my cup. I highly recommend a mirror. Then we get a couple of Q-tips. So once I have my setup, I will lay down on my little puppy pad, and then I will basically spread my legs, and then I will spread my labia so that I can visualize the folds. And if you look up pictures on the internet or just an explanation on the internet, it'll be able to better tell you, but it kind of looks like a little bit of a thick consistency. And so my experience is that I saw that a lot. Obviously, as a woman, it's just part of being a woman. I would try to get it off in the shower, and sometimes it's really stubborn and kind of stuck on there, and it just is harder to take off, and you don't really get all of it off. However, I was taught by my PT this whole strategy on how to clean it up, and it has changed the game for me. I lay down here, and then what happens is I grab one of my Q-tips, and then I dip it in the water cup. It soaks the Q-tip, and so it makes it so that it's really easy to go in and start rolling stuff down. And then what I do is, because the puppy pad is here, it lets me just wipe it off. I just wipe it off like this on my puppy pad, and then I just keep going, and then it lets me clean up everything. And once I feel like it's been a little bit too used up, you can like re-dip it. Once you're done wiping it, then you can like re-dip it in the water. This is why I get a disposable cup, but you can re-dip it in the water and then go again. And then eventually, once you feel like you've done enough swipes, you can switch it. You can switch sides to the other side. You can get a new Q-tip after that, whatever your preference is and what you're comfortable with. And the reason this is so important is because I, at least as a part of my surgery, I had clitoral adhesions too. They told me that they're not really sure how clitoral adhesions happen, but I'd like to believe that it's honestly the smegma that causes the clitoral hood to stick to the clitoris. I feel like that's my guess, because I know that with uncircumcised men, it can be a problem if they don't clean up the smegma underneath the skin, the foreskin, then it'll have that same issue where it'll stick and it causes a lot of problems. And so my assumption, they say that they don't know what causes clitoral adhesions, but honestly, my assumption is that the smegma is a big part of it. And especially when you have clitoral adhesions removed and you have that lysis procedure, you really want to make sure that you keep that area clean while it's in that recovery process. Then you're not dealing with more gunk in the way, basically. This knowledge is super important and very important for female hygiene. And then it's so easy when you're done, because you can throw away the puppy pad, and then you dump the water, throw away the cup if you want, and then you can do the same with the Q-tips that you're done using. Alrighty, let's head on out. It is such a beautiful day outside. One of the perks of living in San Diego. Okay, we made it into the car, so let's head on over to the appointment right now. And yeah, see you guys there. We're in the elevator. I'm starting to feel a little bit antsy, but good things. Okay, currently waiting to be examined and talked to by my surgeon. Gonna pee before I get examined. That's where I just was. Look at how many books I'm leaving with. From my video, by the way. If you haven't seen it, you should watch it. I'm in my car now. I'm gonna drive home now, and then let's talk about the appointment. As you can tell, I'm not crying or in distress, so it means that it was not as triggering as I thought it was gonna be, but I'm gonna tell you guys more about it when I'm parked at home. There's not even a really good spot to prop up my phone. So we got a celebratory Starbucks for the appointment, and let's talk about it. I went into the office. You guys kind of saw that part, sort of. Dr. Goldstein asked me some questions about how my recovery has been going and where I'm at. So I answered that a little bit and told him where I still had some sensitivities, but that overall everything was going really great, and that Jandra, my pelvic floor therapist, has been amazing. Then after that point, he showed me my slides. So I had gotten pictures already of my slides, I guess, of my tissue sampling from what they removed from the surgery. And so he actually broke it down for me though. And so I had those photos on my text messages from him, but I didn't get to really understand what it was. I obviously knew how to identify the mast cells in my tissue and the nerves, which were a lot of them, by the way. Very validating for me to see. I'll probably go more into that in more of my recovery video segments. He showed me slides from the pug removal and from the actual vestibule. He also showed me the samplings of the tissue from my mouth. So I had to get the buccal graft, which means that I got the graft taken out of the cheek and was placed on my vulva as a replacement of the anterior vestibule. He showed me the slides on that, and he said there were a couple of mast cells in my mouth tissue. And obviously he said it's not a problem. There's no nerves. It was just mast cells. He also said I would have been feeling it because obviously if there's extra nerves in the mouth, I would have been feeling kind of the same symptoms as the vestibule of severe sensitivity and pain. But he did say it does probably reveal that I most likely do struggle with mast cell activation syndrome. I've heard a little bit about it, and especially as I was going on this whole diagnosis journey, once I did get my diagnosis, I was kind of diving deeper into what it meant and what mast cells are, and I did look into mast cell activation syndrome, and I was curious if I had that, but obviously I was working on this stuff right now. I wasn't gonna start a whole new health journey for that, but I don't know, maybe something foreshadow, a little preview into a whole new series. And after that point, then we went to the room where they did an ultrasound on me on the vestibule. They were just making sure that I didn't have any complications. I thought they were gonna stick it inside, and they didn't. It was literally not even, it was across my pubic hair area, so it didn't even touch any tissue. So if you have Dr. Goldstein and you're gonna go see him for post-op, don't even stress about the ultrasound. It makes it sound way scarier on the consent form than what it actually is. And he literally just hovers over. He doesn't even go inside. It should not be touching any tissue. But he's basically scanning for Bartholin cysts, which is a complication that can happen after surgery. I personally have not been symptomatic with it, so I didn't think I was gonna have it, and I didn't. So everything looked really clear, and there didn't seem to be any complications or issues with my healing process. Praise the Lord. I switched rooms, and we went to the room where they did my vulvoscopy the first time. Oh my gosh, talk about, not PTSD, but oh my gosh, talk about crazy memories there in that room. And so they redid my vulvoscopy, watched my previous videos too, to really learn more about what the vulvoscopy looks like. But they basically do a more official Q-tip test with a camera that's really zoomed in, so you can actually see the tissue and the regions rather than just like touching, and then you can actually map out what areas of the vestibule are causing pain. I was kind of nervous. That was the part that was making me a little bit anxious before the appointment. I think it's also, I don't want to say medical trauma, but I do think there is a huge aspect of medical trauma for me, especially after, you know, my story. If you haven't seen my video yet about my full diagnosis journey, but especially when I got to my OB appointments, and it was very like dismissive and so painful. If you're someone who has dealt with this issue or has dealt with just a chronic pain condition in general, I think sometimes when doctors are examining us, it can come across as they're almost numb to the experience of the individual patient. I think that it's so routine for them sometimes that they can forget how sensitive we are and how much examining has to be so carefully done. And I think that's kind of my medical trauma, is being with people that of course mean well and are not terrible people, but providers that are kind of just like wanting to stretch my tissue and like don't really have as much consideration, I guess is the right word. I mean, I knew mentally, like logically speaking, I knew that it was gonna be okay, but obviously physically my body was very much starting to get a little bit stressed. Once we started the Q-tip test, I felt so much better because everything basically went down to at most a level 3 out of 10 pain, which by the way, in my previous vulvoscopy, everything was 9s, was 9 out of 10 pain ratings, and was so awful. And they couldn't even do the full vulvoscopy. Usually they map out the whole area, and for me it hurt so bad that they only did the border and they couldn't even do the whole thing. And so this time around they actually could do the whole thing, which was very cool. It was very eye-opening too, because there's still some sensitivity, but it helped me to at least visually see what parts are still a little bit sensitive, and those were like the 3s. The other other super encouraging aspect of my vulvoscopy was that I could really tell what parts of the vestibule have been getting worked through with my PT. I just want this to be an encouragement to you that when you're going through the PT process, it might seem like you're not making a lot of progress, or it might seem a little slow, or all the different things. You don't really get to see a huge night and day progress from week to week. But let me tell you, when he did the bottom part of the vestibule, like the 6 o'clock and the 5 and the 7 o'clock, those are the regions that my therapist started working on first and really started working through the scar tissue as one of the first areas. And that area was a 0, like absolutely no pain. It was so cool. And I could tell, because then when he moved into other spots, I could kind of feel a little bit of the scar tissue, just like tightness, a little bit sensitive, but still like only a 2 out of 10 pain, which is absolutely night and day incredible. Absolutely incredible. That just goes to show that PT honestly is not optional. I'm just gonna say it. It's not really optional for this recovery process, is what I learned from this appointment, because it made a huge difference. And not only did it make a huge difference for the spots that she worked on, but it was encouraging to know, oh my gosh, so these other areas that were a little bit more sensitive are probably gonna feel better once Jandra gets to work on those parts of the vestibule. So it's just so exciting and very cool. And I guess you could say my vestibule's gone. So when I say vestibule, I just say the region. That's kind of the update, but it was like so encouraging, and I don't even think it's really sinking in. I feel happy. I thought I'd be more like, I don't know, emotional. I thought I'd be crying happier, tears of joy, or I don't really know. But I don't know. I think I just have to, I don't know if I'm in denial. I think I have to kind of just sit with it for a second and let it sink in. And I think it's not processing right now. But oh my gosh, a very, very big success. And I'm so happy I took you guys along so you can see that. I'm going to go inside and I'm going to go eat some lunch and finish up my Starbucks. Okay, hello guys. I have not been vlogging. There's a reason for that. I wasn't vlogging Tuesday and Wednesday. But hey, at least I got the relevant today, which was Monday, and I'm capturing the other relevant day of this week, which is today, Thursday, because I have my pelvic floor physical therapy appointment at 3 p.m. It is currently noon-ish. Let me update you though. Yesterday, Wednesday, I had therapy, like mental health therapy. My schedule and my day got kind of all turned around because I was supposed to have my CPR certification in-person training on Tuesday, and then the instructor canceled on us, and then it got moved to yesterday on Wednesday. So yesterday was insane. And then I didn't vlog anything on Tuesday because there wasn't really anything that happened on Tuesday, to be honest. It was a lot of taking care of things at home and editing a lot of videos, making a lot of content, and editing videos for you guys. So for my mental health therapy, besides me getting diagnosed with ADHD, which is a whole other conversation and series that we're gonna get into, we also talked about how I was doing mentally. I haven't seen my therapist since week 1 of surgery recovery, so it had been a really long hot minute, and so we caught up. I caught her up on how I was doing, and the biggest thing I talked about was just how I was doing at a certain point in my recovery when it hit my 2-year wedding anniversary, and how hard it was for me to get to that landmark. And I thought that I wasn't going to be as affected about it, but I also was about to start my period, so I had PMS going on, which was very unfortunate. But at the same time, there was also just a lot of emotions going on, because 2 years doesn't sound like a lot, but at the same time, it made me go, dang, I've been dealing with this issue for 2 years. This is crazy. And as of now, I currently have still been working up to the point of being able to insert bigger objects and have intercourse, and I'm not at that point yet. And so I was kind of processing through that with her. Especially being married, it's really hard to not be at that point. And I know that it takes a while. The recovery takes a while. And if you don't know that, it does. Unfortunately, I saw a ton of Reddit posts, and I was looking at some of success stories, and I literally just latched on to one person's post that said that they were able to have intercourse post vestibulectomy at 8 weeks. And they even said it wasn't even that enjoyable, but they said it kind of worked. And it was one person out of so many people that said it took a while. It took 12 weeks. It took whatever, like people that actually had to take a while. And even Dr. Goldstein had told me to wait 3 to 6 months to actually start feeling better. But But for whatever reason, I don't know, I was just really extra hopeful, and I didn't have strict expectations on myself, but I did feel some disappointment when it came to that period, and especially because my wedding anniversary landed around the 8 to 10 weeks mark post-op, and so I was hoping and expecting to be feeling better by then, and obviously I was still not at the point of intercourse. That was really hard on me mentally, but I was able to process through it and move past it. And we keep going on because we have PT today, and it's gonna be great, and I'm gonna be able to see more progress, and all that matters right now, and I'm trying to ground myself in the fact that I'm making progress slowly but surely. With that being said though, the room right now is, I'm just gonna be transparent, is kind of a disaster. There's a ton of random things that accumulated over there, and the desk is crazy, and all of this is crazy. It's just a tiny room, to be fair, so I think it's just all wild. By the way, I do live with my in-laws for right now, also because of just how expensive the surgery was. It was just the financially smart move, so we're in between leases right now, and we are apartment hunting, but we're just, you know, waiting for things to become available, and we're not in a crazy rush, which is a blessing to not have to be in a rush with finding a new place to live, but that's the situation. So things get messy very quickly in here, and so we're gonna clean this up so that way I can feel mentally decluttered. Otherwise, I'm not gonna be able to focus on anything else I have to do. That is so much better now. Okay, I only have a few minutes to eat my lunch and get ready to go to my PT, but I think I can do this, so let's do this. And I'm gonna eat leftovers from my community group's potluck yesterday, which we had some really yummy pulled pork. Let's just try to get out the door on time today. Okay, I'm gonna hurry, but we got this. We made it to the car, and I'll see you guys at PT. Currently gonna change. PT. PT is all done, so let's drive back home. I'm gonna speak a little bit quieter because I'm losing my voice a little bit. I need it for a foster kids camp that I'm doing. Today was a good update because we basically were able to figure out what was still causing me some discomfort and some stinging, and I shared my insights with her about my appointment with Dr. Goldstein, and I told her about how I was able to visually see an area that was still kind of stinging, but a weird stinging where it was stinging at first contact and then it would like chill out. So we were kind of just talking more about that, and that's kind of how scar tissue feels like. Vestibulodynia pain is more persistent and lingering versus the scar tissue pain can sometimes feel similar, which is a little bit scary sometimes when you're healing, but it's more so the difference being that when it is contacted, it kind of chills out a little bit at least as it gets touched versus the first point of contact. I found some fascia tissue, scar tissue tension on one of the sides of my vulva, and we figured out how to work through that, especially because I'm going to camp next week. I won't be able to do a lot of the exercises and things that I normally do to continue to work through the scar tissue. I will say tomorrow is Friday and it will be 13 weeks post-op, and coming from this PT appointment, I can feel myself starting to waver to disappointment again. I'm trying so hard not to, but that's kind of where I'm at. It's really tempting to be disappointed because I want to be further along, but I'm trying so hard to hang on to the fact that I am progressing super well, and my pelvic floor therapist is really good about cheering me on and telling me that I'm doing well. So that's kind of the update on that. And as of now, I'm still feeling pretty good. But, you know, progress is not linear, and my emotions around this process have definitely not been linear. And today is one of those days that I'm just trying to be very vigilant and wary of my emotional state, and checking in with myself a little bit more this week, and making sure that I'm not getting too hopeless or strict or shameful about myself with how my progress is going, because this is already so huge and I've come so far. And yeah, I will say a good milestone that I'm gonna celebrate today is that after this session, I sat down so comfortably today, like so comfortably since getting surgery, which I'm gonna cling on to that win for today, because that was a huge win for me. I was still struggling with some discomfort with sitting, but today after this session, I think because we found that troublesome area on my labia, after we worked through it, I was able to sit down today and sit down without bracing, and it was great. So that's the update on that. Good morning. Making myself some breakfast. Making myself some collagen milk. It's literally just collagen powder in cold milk. And I put together some of my biscuits, my homemade biscuits, and I just put some jelly on them. It's very much not my ideal high protein breakfast, but also here's the collagen I use. It's a specific collagen that I got prescribed from my naturopathic doctor to recover from surgery because of the targeted collagen that it is, and it specifically targets the mucosal tissue, and that's basically what the vulva tissue is made up of, and that's kind of what I do. I kind of just froth it up a little just so it can mix pretty well. Now I'm getting my just ingredients electrolytes. I won't vlog a ton today because my voice I have to be so careful with still, because I have camp coming up. Starting load number 1. Hello again. It is currently Sunday after camp, so I'm so sorry my vlog ended so abruptly, but I got to cover the things that I really wanted to cover, so I'm gonna leave it as it is. And if you're seeing this a week later than the actual filming time of the vlog, because I had to go to camp and it was so go. I definitely did not have the chance to upload and edit everything, because by the time it was Friday, as soon as I made my last footage of doing laundry, I had to do so much prep that took all day, literally skipped a meal because of how long it took, and by then it was a lost cause. It was one thing to the next, and camp is always so crazy and the days leading up to it are so wild. So but now I'm back, and I just wanted to finish up this vlog and at least give you guys a little outro because of how abruptly things ended. So thank you so much for watching, and I will continue through this series and continue to tell my story and also give you the further developments of my journey. But thanks for watching if you made it all the way to the end, and I will see you guys again next time. Bye!